Okay. Hello? Better. Okay, so I'm talking about rapid prototyping and talk a bit in the beginning about rapid prototyping in general, and then we'll go more into details about a stack that I came up with that's based on Mojolicious Lite and a few other bits and pieces. Who am I anyway? I grew up in Austria in the middle of Europe and then moved to Bavaria to work for a few startups there, and some years ago moved down to New Zealand, which is sort of halfway, so Tokyo is sort of halfway between Europe and New Zealand. It's like really remote. And New Zealanders talk about themselves as Kiwis, so that's the Kiwi thing here. So I'm a Kiwi. New Zealand is a beautiful country, by the way. If you ever go there, give me a yell. I'll hook you up with the local Pill community, which is really good. So yeah, I run a startup, and a larger one that sort of outgrew the startup phase already, and I'm very involved in the whole startup scene in New Zealand, and have a couple of small startups and consult to a couple of small startups, and always had that need for sort of a really small and quick and nimble framework to rapidly prototype an idea that I have, just to sort of get it out of the system and have it somewhere on paper and get on with my life again. And that thing that I came up with comes out of that need to quickly try an idea, see if it works. If it works, fine, further develop it. If it doesn't work, ditch it and sort of file it as one of those many failed ideas, and quickly do that real quick. If you look at a rough timeline of like how you grow a startup, it's sort of having an idea, writing an early stage prototype, and then test that prototype at a small audience, and that audience gives you horrible feedback, and you pivot and you sort of go through that idea and test and pivot cycle till you suddenly hit that overnight success somewhere in a couple of years down the track. And in order to do that in a quick way, you need a small framework. Otherwise, your baggage is too big and you can't test and pivot as fast as you need to. And the goal is really to sort of minimize the idea between idea and success. This is actually the view of a house where I stayed the last 2 weeks, somewhere in Mauritius, with the rest of my company to do a code hackathon for automating bits and pieces of my company. So this is sort of what I always wanted, sort of sit at the beach and sort of hack from the beach. And if you're quick in this whole testing and re-evaluation phase, you can reach that goal probably quicker than we did. So in order to have a small code base, it's important that you have some sort of existing framework that gives you a lot of code for free, that you have as few, or the lines of code have to be the fewest possible. Otherwise, you have this big baggage of code that you have to go through with every change. And in the early stage, when you prototype an idea, you have a lot of changes. You have a lot of fundamentals that change the base idea that you had to start out with. And if you have large frameworks like Catalyst or any of the other big ones, you have a lot of code that you always carry around with you. And if you go with a smaller framework like Mojolicious, that baggage is way smaller, and the way to quickly implement those changes is way quicker. So the stack I came up with is called Planet Express Ship, to go with that whole Futurama theme in Mojolicious. It's based on Mojolicious Lite, it's based on CouchDB, and it's based on Bootstrap. And it is really work in progress. It's not a fixed framework that you can pick up and sort of just go with it. You can, but it is rough at the edges. It is really sort of what I built over the last years and condensed it down into what's in that package. Mojolicious Lite is absolutely fabulous for quick prototyping, I think. But in itself, it's a bit, so there is no data storage mechanism in it. So I plugged in CouchDB just because I love CouchDB. Don't go into too much details about CouchDB to not start any holy wars about databases and NoSQL storage engines and stuff. But if you've never ever touched NoSQL, CouchDB is probably an easy way to start. And I'm using Bootstrap, and because it's a really nice framework to quickly whip up a UI. But I go into that in a bit more detail. This is the only takeaway that you really need for this talk, I think. This is where you get it. It's on GitHub. Fork it, play with it, tear it to bits, write plugins, write extensions, and by all means, give me feedback. This is really work in progress. We've used this package in 4 startups that are still going, and I used it with teams that had absolutely no prior exposure to Perl, no prior exposure to CouchDB, and they all got going within a weekend. So it is really a way to sort of get Perl out into an area of developers that we didn't touch with Perl code before. And I think it works pretty well. If they get a bit of coaching and a bit of guiding, it is pretty easy to pick up. So what do you get? We have a couple of general plugins that reside within the package. They are some of them are published as CPAN packages, but by far not all of them. There is login and user handling. There is Gmail and Google App support. So if you have to send mails, which is one of the things that every web app has to do at some stage, that's just a plugin away. All you have to do is put in your Gmail credentials in a config file and it works. There is a sort of mini CMS kind of thing that is really basic but gives you a possibility through a sort of roughly nice editor for totally untechnical people to write a couple of markdown pages that appear as static pages in your app. So you always have some static content that you don't want to hard code in an HTML template because probably the people you're working with don't even have an idea how to write HTML, but you can make them write roughly valid markdown. So that does that micro CMS. There is CDN storage currently only for XBase files, but it's easily extended for S3 or any of the other big storage engines. There's loads more. So all the packages, there is Facebook authentication. There is so one tokens, invite token plugin, and a lot of plugins that can just be that we needed in other projects, and we just dumped into the whole project as a whole, and you only load the plugins that you actually need. The package layout is, there is a Mojolicious plugin namespace where we dumped all the plugins that come with the package. So the idea is you just check out the whole thing and work in that tree. You have the bin, you have the CSS. CSS holds all the Bootstrap less files, so we imported only the less files and the build system from Bootstrap, but I'll go into that in a moment. DB holds the CouchDB views, JS holds the Bootstrap JS files, and public is where all the statics are compiled, and if you need static images and all those goes into public. So it's just standard Mojolicious Lite layout. The only non-standard directories in here is a JSDB and CSS trees. CouchDB. CouchDB is sort of, I think it was one of the first NoSQL databases that was really production ready. In the meantime, there are others that are more famous. I stuck with CouchDB. Now that all the sort of hype kits are gone, it's actually a nice community. It is an absolutely lovely database for rapid prototyping because you don't need to think about schemas. You just get started. You dump your stuff somehow in the database, and afterwards you sort of start to model it out with views and MapReduce views on your data. So you don't have to think in the beginning. You can iterate really quickly. You don't need a lot of front-end work, sort of an architect that models your database or things. You can just get going. And if you're starting really quickly, and I'm talking like weekends or weeks to get a product up and running in front of customers, you don't really have the time to model your data properly. And the NoSQL database really helps you to sort of get that initial boost of work done, and without waiting for each other really, because you probably have 4 or 5 guys working on that thing in parallel, and everyone wants to get shit done, but there is always sort of, you're always waiting for the database guy. if he hasn't modeled it yet, you can't push any data in, and yeah, with CouchDB you don't have to wait. I've written a couple of plugins, what are they called? Mojolicious commands to implement a couple of couch features. So there is a couch load, couch dump to load your views, to dump your views. That's work in progress. It's still pretty ugly code if you look at it. I wrote it in the plane on the way here. So it's quite beta, but it's working. I want to get that one to a stage where you can just say Planet Express should bootstrap and give it a name, and it bootstraps the database, it bootstraps the whole setup that you need without you having to do any manual steps. I'm not quite there yet, but that couch bit is a start in that direction. The important thing for me with CouchDB is there is no easy way in Perl to load views and dump views from CouchDB. So those are tools that I had as just normal command line tools and carried around with me all the time, and I just made them into Mojolicious commands finally, so that you don't need those tools as external dependencies. With that you can dump your views and load your views from file system. If you've never seen CouchDB document that's a user document, for example. It always has an ID and a reference, and the rest is all sort of free. You write whatever you want. Everything that has an underscore is a reserved word, so you don't normally you shouldn't name your keys with an underscore, with a trailing underscore, starting underscore. The whole thing about evolving a document and evolving a platform is also this user document may be how we started in the beginning, but the application needed additional information for the user, needed additional things, and we just extend the document as we go. We don't need to alter any schemas. We can just check more data in or make the app put more data in, and it's just there. You don't have to do anything extra. The other bit that I put in is Twitter Bootstrap, and for everyone who hasn't worked with it, have a look at it. It is an absolutely amazing CSS and CSS framework for really quickly writing front ends. And that's like, from me, I'm a total backend guy. I really suck with front ends. Since Twitter Bootstrap, I sort of dare to make front ends a bit, at least, and they don't look totally off-putting at the first glance. So Twitter Bootstrap is a really, really valuable resource to tap into and to play with for anything that has to be viewed not only by you but by customers. I've written a small integration into Planet Express as well, so you just run the build command and it compiles your less files down to CSS. It minifies and combines your JavaScript files, and it even has so the basic project comes with a package JSON, so you can just run npm build the node build command, and it pulls down all the requirements it needs to build Bootstrap. So the build command also has that step in it. So if you don't have CoffeeScript yet, if you don't have the JSON, the JavaScript minifiers and all those kind of things that you need in order to build Planet Express, to build Bootstrap, it will do that automatically for you. There is a lot of themes marketplaces around for Bootstrap, and just Google for them. There are loads of them. They're popping up all over the place, and they're really cool resources to just reskin your front end without you having to do any changes. Template layout. There is currently, so the base template that you get with Planning Express ship has a notification mechanism for info scenarios, so you can easily display info scenarios with that Bootstrap type, where you have those JavaScript pop-ups with a red background thingy, and you have your close button on the side and things like that. So that's all there. There is menu handling for logged in and logged out users, so you can display a little login form on the side if you're not logged in, and otherwise you have a little drop down where you have where you can go and edit your profile and things like that. There is CMS hacks in there, so if you're on a CMS page and you're logged in as an admin, you get a little edit this page link on the bottom, and so it is really easy for you to sort of maintain the whole site. If you're no admin user, obviously you don't see any of the hacks and so on. So the whole template layout is really built for rapid iterations and for quick getting off the ground. But if you do any application in earnest, you most probably tweak the template layout. But it gives you a lot of things for free to get started. We have templates for logging, login handling, for password reset handling, so the whole password reset. Send a challenge URL to someone, then expire that challenge URL after X days and things like that. That's all handled in the framework already. Get that all for free. There is admin editor templates. We have a little JavaScript editor in there that makes it a bit easier to edit for non-technical people. There is a user page where you can update your profile, or sort of a personal profile page. And just a lot of the stuff that you always need to write, most probably there's a template for it already. If there is no template for something that you need again and again and again, by all means put it in there. We'll probably just be happy and take it. There is currently no internationalization support. All the templates are in English, but it should be easy to add. I looked into a couple of modules, but I haven't added anything as core dependency yet because all my projects are in English at the moment, so wasn't really the need for it. But we're definitely looking at it. Time, 2 minutes for questions, I think. Anything that I didn't mention? Anything you want to know?
質問があれば英語はやりますけど。
Mojolicious のセッション機能が割と貧弱な感じがするんですが、それってどういう対処をしてますか？
So he thinks the Mojolicious session is a little bit on the weak side, and if you're doing anything about it.
Not yet.
Not
yet. I'm known for ripping stuff out of frameworks and then replacing it with better stuff. Our Catalyst setup for I Want My Name looks nothing like Catalyst normally looks like. Pretty much, I don't know, lots of the code base is replaced by stuff that we use. I haven't gone to that extent with Mojolicious yet, but give me time.
自分が使っているカタリストのアプリケーションとかはもうなんかカタリストに見えないぐらいいろいろハックしてあるので、そういうことを自分はやるんですが、まあそれをMojoliciousではやってないので、まだこれから先のやります。ちなみに僕はブラックのミドルウェアでやってます。僕もやってます。He uses black middleware to overcome the session stuff.
Yeah, that's probably a way we will go down to.
Do you have any examples of sites that are up using this?
これを使って作ったサイトの例がありますか？
I do, but I don't think I have internet right now on the laptop. If you look at startupplatform.com, startup-platform.com, that's one. Getitfixed.com, get-it-fixed.com is another one. Loads of dashes. All of my domain names.
You want to post this on Twitter?
I will totally post it on Twitter.
その例はちょっと今出てないので、後でツイッターにポストします。他に質問ございますか？ないですか？
I'm half a minute over time anyway.
はい、じゃあここで終了です。ありがとうございました。